Hi everyone, it's Peter Schiff. It's Friday, January 8th, 2011. Well, today the much anticipated non-farm payrolls report was released, and as I expected, it did not live up to its lofty expectations. We ended up creating, I think, about 102 or 103,000 non-farm payroll jobs on the month. Expectations were 150, 200,000 plus jobs being created. I think a lot of that was also based on the ADP number that came out on Wednesday that suggested a stronger number. And of course, the general belief, incorrect in my opinion, that the U.S. economy is recovering. We're going to have a robust economic growth and we're going to create a lot of jobs. And of course, beneath the surface, the numbers were even worse. Of the jobs that we created, none were in goods producing sectors. We actually lost a couple of thousand goods producing jobs. We created service sector jobs. So as these newly employed Americans go to spend their paychecks, of course, they end up buying more imported products to make up for the fact that they're not producing any. Now, I know that the politicians will try to make hay out of the fact that the unemployment rate did drop from 9.8 to 9.4%. The main reason for that is better than 250,000 people left the workforce. That means that they became discouraged. They decided that they no longer would look for work. They're still unemployed, but they're not counted as being unemployed because they're out of the labor force. So in any event, the news for me shows that we're not having this vibrant recovery. Now, since that had been baked into the cake, I think you got some selling into the market today because people were looking for better numbers. The dollar was down against every currency but the euro. And as a result, the dollar index was up a little bit. I think the dollar sold off against other currencies because we didn't get the strong numbers that people were looking for. But, you know, if it wasn't for concerns about Europe, I think the dollar would have got clobbered based on today's number. The only reason that it did not happen, I think, was because the euro's problems were, for the moment, occupying the center stage. And I think, you know, that's been happening for a while. Ultimately, I think we will look beyond Europe to the greater problems here in the United States. You know, Ben Bernanke actually testified today, speaking about these numbers in front of the Senate. And again, he said that the numbers confirm the economy is growing like he thinks. Just unfortunately, we're not getting the jobs along with the growth. Well, I think the reason we're not getting the jobs is because we don't have any growth. You know, if the economy was really growing in a real sense, meaning, you know, economic output was increasing, well, we would need more employees to go along with that growth. More people hired would be evidence of a growing economy that was producing more goods and services. But that's not what's happening. What's happening in this supposed recovery is we're simply spending more money. Right? The unemployed are still spending money. They're spending their unemployment checks. People who have jobs are spending. The government is spending. We're all spending. And as a result of all this spending, the numbers are moving up. But it's all short term because we're borrowing that money. We're digging our hole even deeper. We're committing the same sins that led to the problem, only we're doing them on a bigger scale. We're not going to escape the consequences this time. They're going to come back. You know, we're going to find out we're in a deeper hole when the bills from all this spending come in. But everybody is confusing spending borrowed money with economic growth. And then when the jobs don't show up, they come up with the oxymoron of a jobless recovery. Well, the reason it's jobless is because it's not a recovery. It's a fantasy. It's simply printing money, spending it, borrowing money, spending it. That is not the way an economy grows. That's the way you can destroy an economy because in the short run, you create the appearance of growth as the money is spent, but then you get a collapse when the bills come due. And of course, the bills always come due. One way or another, that is in fact what is going to happen. And also, I wanted to take a moment to comment on an opinion piece that was in the New York Times on Wednesday. You know, the Republicans took control of Congress this week, and one of the things they did in Congress is they actually read the Constitution. Maybe this is the first time some of our leaders are hearing those words, but this our article was making fun of the Republicans for embracing the Constitution. And there were some very interesting parts of that article that I wanted to mention because it shows how little money people know about the Constitution. First of all, the guy who wrote it was making fun of the Republicans, saying, well, if they like the Constitution so much, does that mean that they believe that blacks should be considered three-quarters of a person? Well, last time I checked, the 13th Amendment was part of the Constitution. So just because you like the Constitution doesn't mean that you're in favor of slavery. In fact, the Constitution abolished slavery. So that was a red herring, number one. Number two, he says that, well, what makes the congressmen, the Republicans, think that they know what the Constitution means? After all, our founding fathers were smart enough to write a document that would be open for reinterpretation over the years. Well, that's not what they did. They did the exact opposite. They didn't rewrite the Constitution and leave it void for vagueness. It wasn't open to interpretation. The Constitution doesn't need to be interpreted. It's not written in Chinese. It needs to be obeyed. It needs to be enforced. There is nothing to interpret. What happens is our courts have ignored the Constitution. They've let the government get away with murder, and they call ignoring it, interpreting it. That's number one. Then also, he went on to say that it's not even up to a Congress to consider the constitutionality of a law, that is for the courts to do. He's wrong again. It is up to Congress. It's up to the president. Every member of Congress and the president swears an oath to uphold the Constitution. That means they have to consider the constitutionality of every bill they vote on. And if something is unconstitutional, you vote against it, even if you think it's a good idea, because your oath is to the Constitution, not to do simply the things that you think are good, but to do what's constitutional. Now, the courts are our last line of defense, right? In case an unconstitutional law slips through Congress, if the president signs it anyway, then at least we have redress through the courts to strike it down. But we have to hold our leaders accountable. Thomas Jefferson said that we will bind up the government in the chains of the Constitution. We need to put those chains back on because the government has been doing anything it wants. Now, I'm glad that we do have some Republicans or maybe some Democrats in Congress that are talking about the Constitution. But when it comes to the Constitution, it's walking the walk that I care about, not just talking the talk, because almost everything the federal government does these days is unconstitutional. And I would love to see the Constitution considered once again so it would restrain a Congress from passing all these laws that are destroying our economy. One more thing I wanted to mention is my radio show, on shiftradio.com. I'm not doing as many video blogs these days because I am doing a daily radio show. Right now the show is going on every day from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern Time, and you can listen to it live on shiftradio.com. However, if you don't listen to it live, you can listen to the rebroadcast. It airs in a loop. You can hear it anytime for free over the next 24-hour period. If you want to sign up to be a member, a premium member, you can have access to the archives and listen to all broadcasts commercial-free. Now, some people tell me that they don't have time, can't listen to a 2-hour show, or they don't even want to listen to it without commercials. Well, you can just listen to the first 10 minutes, which are always free. They're always in the archives. It's kind of like having a video blog every day. I don't take calls in the first 10 minutes. I just kind of talk about what's ever on my mind. So it's kind of like having a video blog every day. In fact, if you're a premium member, you can watch it. We do broadcast a video of the radio program, so you can actually see me as well. We are starting a new feature next week for premium members. We're going to do a best of every day after I record the show. We're going to condense the show down to about 20 minutes of the best of the Peter Schiff Show that day. So if you don't have a lot of time and you don't even want to listen to the full show without commercials, you can listen to the best of every day. And so it's like having a video blog every single day. All you have to do is go to shiftradio.com and check it out. So if you're upset that I'm not doing enough of the video blogs, it's because I'm putting a lot of content every single day on a lot of subjects on my radio show. And so a lot of you are not watching it yet, so make sure and go to shiftradio.com every day, either live from 6 to 8 or go to the archives. Anyway, take care, and I'll blog again soon. Bye-bye.